Hello, I'm Jen from Cakey Lulu's, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you how to dowel a cake ready for a separator or another tier. When you're working with a tiered cake design, it's essential that you use dowels in any cake tier that has another cake or a dummy cake or a separator sat above it. And that's because the dowels are what support the weight of those tiers above to prevent your cake from being crushed and ultimately collapsing. While there are a lot of different options for dowels on the market, the first thing and most important thing to make sure is that they are food safe, that they're able to go into a cake without contaminating it at all. So there are wooden and plastic dowel varieties, and if you were to get a wooden dowel, say from a hardware store, that's not going to be food safe, and so you're going to need to make sure that it's made food safe before inserting it into a cake. Alternatively, you can just buy food safe dowels. This one is from PME. It's thicker than a kebab skewer, so it will actually be able to support the weight of a cake, and it can be cut to size and be inserted directly into your cake without causing any contaminations. Next, I have two plastic straw style dowels, and it's important to note that these are thicker and stronger than normal drinking straws. So plastic drinking straws should not be used because they're not strong enough to hold the weight of any tiers. So here by PME, I've got another cake dowel. It's wider than a regular straw, and it's made of plastic that's strong enough to hold tiers above, and it's food safe so it can go directly into the cake. However, my favourite dowel to use is these ones by Easy Dowel. Although they're narrower, they're really thick plastic and they're very strong, and they also do a square version, which this round version slots directly into to give you extra stability and strength. So I'm going to show you how to use these in a minute. The Easy Dowel company also have this cutter, which makes it really easy and really safe to cut your dowels. So I'll show you how I use that too. So I have my cake and my dowels ready. As a rule of thumb, so this is an 8-inch cake. If I were using a 6-inch separator or tier above, I would use 6 dowels in this cake. To start, I take one dowel and I place it in the center of the cake. Push it right the way down to the bottom so it meets the cake board. And then we need to mark the dowel where it meets the top of the cake so we know where to cut it. You can use a food safe pen. I just use my thumbnail. So bringing in my cutter, I'm going to use my thumbnail to mark where the top of the cake is. And I'm going to hold my dowel as I pull it out and keep my thumbnail in that point. Now with the dowel cutter, I'm going to take the sharp point and line it up where my thumbnail is, and then place the dowel in position. Then simply grab hold of it and cut. This dowel was the one that was in the center of the cake, and we're going to measure all the other dowels against this dowel to make sure that they're all completely the same height. If they're not the same height as each other, the cake board on top or the separator on top will not sit level. So this bit is really, really important. So now, taking that dowel that I've just cut from the center of the cake, I'm going to take my next dowel and line them up with each other. Then taking my dowel cutter, I'm going to squeeze it open and take the blade, rest it on top of that dowel that I cut, and then release. So I know that this dowel is now going to be cut the same height as my other dowel. Then simply squeeze to cut the dowel. Next, I put that dowel that I just cut to one side, and again using the dowel from the center of the cake, I'm going to use that as a guide for measuring all my other dowels. Again, using the dowel from the center of the cake, I'm going to line them up, squeeze, rest the blade on top of that central dowel, release, and then pinch to cut the dowel. Once all your dowels are cut, line them up to make sure that they're the same height as each other. So now I'm going to bring my cake back in. and put that first dowel back in the centre. And now it's time to add the rest of the dowels to my cake. This is an 8-inch cake tier, so for any cake tier or separator that is 6 inches diameter or wider, I tend to put the cake dowels halfway between the centre and the edge of the cake. This gives a wide enough space to give extra support and stability to any tier or separator that goes above it. So I find the easiest way to measure about halfway is to take a smaller cake card. This is 4 inches and it's half the diameter of the cake. Place it in the centre of the cake, and then just using a toothpick I scribe around the edge. Next, I take my dowels and I space them evenly on the outside of that scribed mark. And now the cake is fully dowelled and ready to support any tiers or separators above it. If you're using a separator such as this sidebar separator, you'll need to secure it in place, and I've got videos on the Prop Options YouTube channel on how to do that and how to disguise the bottom plate. To add a real cake tier or one of these beautiful Prop Options separators, simply put some buttercream, royal icing or ganache on top of the cake, and then lift your separator, lining it up and push it into place. And the dowels below will support the weight of the separator and any tiers above it. I hope this video has been really helpful. We look forward to seeing what you create. Don't forget to tag Prop Options in your creations and head on over to the Prop Options YouTube channel for tips, tutorials and more. See you next time. Bye.